So a friend of yours is here.
I see a bunch of friends here. Which one are you referring to?
I'm talking about a guy that back in the day did some really cool stuff to feed some homeless people.
Oh, Mr. King.
Mr. Jason King.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, for as long as you knew him long before I ever did, but for as long as I've watched his life, he's done selfless things to help those in need.
Yeah, no, his story is...
I think in many ways, he's fallen in your footsteps where you're doing things in Puerto Rico.
I'm following in his footsteps, I think is more accurate.
Let me tell you guys something. If you're ever going to clap for any human being in your life, this guy right here, Jason King, he's a guy worth clapping for. Stand up. Give him the applause he deserves.
Thank you, Jason.
You know Mike?
Thank you, Jason.
I'll tell you what, Jason, come up here, go back there, have him hook you up with the mic, we'll get you up there.
Jason King has, got an incredible story. He started the first charitable organization in the crypto space with Satoshi Forest and providing housing to homeless people, to eventually building out Unsung and figuring out how to take excess food from restaurants that are typically thrown out and getting that into the hands of the hungry people. And when you talk about just a guy that does it and gives it his all, he ran from Miami to San Francisco on foot to create awareness and raise money for homeless people. I mean, the list of things that this man has done, he's a king among men.
You did Miami to San Francisco on foot?
Yeah. Bitcoin across America, 2014.
You did that?
Yeah, I ran from Miami
in
to
those
San Francisco.
I met him in Los Angeles and
ran
him into the
Yeah,
water.
the first, Vibram was actually a sponsor of my run.
Did you really watch Forrest Gump that many times that you thought it was possible?
Actually, the first time I ever met Brock in person, we had talked online a lot, but the first time I ever met him in person was when I hit the Pacific Ocean in Santa Monica.
Look at this, folks.
Yeah.
I found the guy that actually buys these things. Every time I've seen him, he wears those things. You don't have socks anymore, do you?
Yeah, they have.
They have socks? No, don't stop. We're good. We're good. No.
Yeah.
Okay, do that again. For the people at home. Now, by the way, this is in no way an endorsement because they're not paying us to advertise.
They're
awesome.
Guys go out they're the most comfortable shoes you'll ever wear in your whole life.
I was going to say, if you're going to go out and buy them, let me at least get them as an advertiser first. All right, so you guys don't mind if you take the conversation with yourselves while I go to the bathroom, do you?
Go for it.
You guys got anything to talk about?
I think we can talk for days.
Brock and I can probably
Can you keep the conversation going?
Yeah, definitely.
Didn't you just have something you wanted to talk about how to make sure the future of the blockchain has some people to actually build a future?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so hey, listen, my name's Chris. I'm going to go pee. I'm going to leave you guys live with these guys for a few minutes. And it's Jason King, folks. If you're at home, clap because he deserves it. He is a genuinely good human being, and they are rare to find. And no matter what he says, if it offends you, he's still the nicest human being inside this building right now.
You're a sweetheart, Chris. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Pierce. How are you today?
Grateful. Glad to be sharing this stage with you.
Awesome. So this graphic behind us is my company currently. I'm the co-founder of Kingston School of Blockchain with the founder of Kingston University. He's in the back taking pictures of me right now, Mr. John Souza. We're a fully U.S. accredited university. And early last year, we founded the first fully accredited school for blockchain development.
Where did you guys meet?
We met at Africa Burn. We were invited by Mr. Brock Pierce, and we met in South Africa, and we're campmates. Drove an RV, stick shift on the wrong side of the road. That was kind of our first endeavor together, and here we are, 2 years later, kind of changing the world. So I got into Bitcoin in 2010. I think probably around the same time that Brock did, and there's been so much growth over the past few years. I mean, the fact that we're sitting here in the NASDAQ right now is kind of insane. When 5 years ago, nobody on the street wanted to talk to us for any reason, and just to sort of be it's really humbling experience. But one of the things that John and I realized was that we had all of this growth in blockchain companies and in blockchain startups, but what we kept bumping into was this lack of developer talent. Brock mentioned my company unsung.org. We're a food redistribution company. We take food that would otherwise go to waste from restaurants, catering services, grocery stores, and we're kind of like Uber for feeding the homeless. We redistribute that food out to people in need. But we got this opportunity to build a pilot for the European Union to do a distributed identity system for refugees in Greece that the European Union was paying to feed them, but the NGOs that were cashing those checks were not feeding them. And not only were people not getting fed, they were supposed to be fed, and people were actually starving to death because of this problem, because they didn't have an accountability system, because they didn't have any way to actually poll whether this was happening or not. Some of those same NGOs were able to go back the next year and cash the check again to get into the same program to then go back and not feed people. So I spoke in the European Union 2 years ago, and I said, this is ridiculous. Like Chris said, I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I'm generally happy. And when I spoke that night, and you were there that night, I was angry because, food security is really important to me, and the fact that they were spending billions of dollars to not feed people, it just made me irate. And I was like, this is a simple problem. If you had a distributed Oracle system that could poll parts of this cohort, poll parts of these people, and ask them a binary question, did you get fed today? And if enough of them said no, then don't pay the organization that's supposed to do it. It's super simple. And after that, some people from the EU came to me and said, hey, would you be interested in building the system out that you're proposing? And I said, yeah, absolutely, would love to do that. And one of the first people that I talked to after that's actually in this room was Mr. Steve Dack right there. He helped me out a whole lot at Unsung. And I was like, hey, we've got this opportunity to do this. Would this be something that you would be interested in doing? And he was like, dude, it's a great idea. I'm so busy right now. I'm working on this project. I've got this other project. I'm advising these companies. I was like, cool, no problem. I'll talk to other people. And so I just started calling all the other developers in the area. I mean, in the ecosystem, which I probably know more of than the average person. And they all had some version of that. I'm working on a project. I have these other projects lined up for it. I don't really have any time to build anything new. And so John and I dug deep and found out really where the statistics were in terms of this lacking of development and engineering talent, and it scared the hell out of me because in 2017 and early 2017, the statistic was that there were 14 available jobs for a blockchain developer for every one qualified blockchain developer. And that's terrifying. And it's actually gotten worse since then. It's about 17 to 1 right now. So what John and I did is we stood up the first U.S. accredited school for blockchain development. And since early this year, we've been continuously running intensive programs for training existing software developers on blockchain best practices and taking software developers and making them into blockchain developers. We've already run 5 cohorts. We have another cohort that's about to launch. And then we have 15 on deck for 2019. So we're really scaling up to actually do something about filling this gap in and actually making sure that all of these dreams of all of these wonderful companies that you hear about don't die on the vine because they don't have engineers. So that's what we've been working on together, and it's been a really, really great thing. You're so
congratulations. And clearly very needed.
Yeah. So
you made one point that it's worth noting because in these last conversations, I think most of us agree that a lot of these ICOs are not going to make it. They're not.
For sure.
The projects are not going to cut it. But I still firmly believe that the intentions of most of these entrepreneurs, not all of them, but most of them are good. I'm not meeting people that are they got the right intentions. They're just young and inexperienced in most cases and don't understand what it takes on these projects. And
for sure.
But I almost everyone I meet has a good intention and has a big dream and has a dream that involves more than just themselves benefiting.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, I'm not talking about the scams at all. Like when I'm talking about, companies they're at risk, I'm talking about companies who mean well, who for the most part have really good ideas, but the fact that they're not able to attract engineering talent is going to be the bottleneck that's actually going to make them stall out. It's this existential threat really to our whole ecosystem. So we've really dug in and are trying to find a scalable solution to bringing more blockchain development talent. And I've got a pretty big announcement to make here. Brock, you ready for this?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so we got
all the air right now. Let me get it all out. Everything you want, fast.
So the Brock's the co-founder of the largest ICO in history, EOS. You know, they were fantastic. I know that whole team's really, really great, but the second largest ICO is a company called Tezos. And Tezos has been around for a long time, actually from 2014, which in this ecosystem is, I mean, they're dinosaurs. They've been in for a long time. And so last month, they announced that they were going to scholarship 1,000. They were going to put 1,000 scholarships for developers to get trained up on blockchain and the Tezos protocol. And my co-founder and I and our team got to work in pitching to Tezos with the capabilities of the Kingsland School of Blockchain. And as of this morning, we'd like to announce that we are officially partnered with Tezos to bring blockchain education for the Tezos community in, and we will be their partner to develop their curriculum, to train those 1,000 developers, and then to...
And so they're paying, that's 1,000 scholarships.
That's 1,000 scholarships.
So if I'm a prospective future Tezos developer and I'm watching this right now, how do I get one of these scholarships?
Go to kingslanduniversity.com, and we'll have information on that. But yeah, that's it. They've really identified this issue that essentially the protocols and the projects that make it all have thriving developer teams, and they're willing to put their money where their mouth is and actually go out and ensure that these developers are going to get trained. And so we're really happy to be their partner with them to providing that. And we're going to start doing Tezos developer training in Q1 of next year. And we couldn't be happier. It's a really great team, and we're really looking forward to supporting them, as well as continuing to support all of the other blockchain protocols that we teach. But I think
Congratulations.
There's a lot of companies raising a lot of money out there, and very few of them, addressing this issue that really plagues everyone, because this is everybody's problem. This lack of blockchain development talent is everybody's problem. And so I think Tezos has really made a bold step here.
It's great. No, the protocols should be incenting the developer community in all the ways they can. And
Absolutely.
Hopefully this deal you have with Tezos leads to another deal with the Ethereum Foundation, which leads to another deal with hopefully Block One and EOS, that hopefully leads to another deal with maybe Qtum, whoever it is. I mean, what a wonderful thing if you can get the protocols to finance
Exactly.
the education for 1,000 developers each protocol. There's 5,000 or 10,000.
And that's it. And then we can literally 10x, 100x the numbers of developers that are available, and that's really what we need here. And I just am super excited about it. I think it's a really great plan.
Hey, it's nice when scholarships are a good thing.
Scholarships are great, and so I just would like to applaud Tezos and the whole team at Kingsland University for really bringing this down.
I'm a fan of Tezos. I've respected everything the Brightmans have done.
Amazing.
And I'm very much I'm chain agnostic. I believe that crypto maximalism is very similar to religious fundamentalism. And over the last few thousand years, I think we've learned that, the argument of my chain's better than your chain doesn't really serve anyone. If anyone makes the world a better place, we all win. This is all just A/B testing. It's all experimenting, and good for everyone doing it if they're doing it with good intentions.
Yeah, and we spent the last year and we spent the last year really gearing up, staffing up on teachers and instructors and curriculum developers and people that understand blockchain fundamentals and understand blockchain primitives that can be blockchain agnostic and when they're developing curriculum and teaching. And we just happen to be in a really great spot for when this initiative came out for Tezos, and we're really happy to get to take advantage of it and to partner with them.
Love it.
Thanks, man. So what else have you been up to?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
But no, all sorts of, me. Always spinning many plates. Most recently, we've launched the EOS Alliance, which is the EOS Foundation. It's a nonprofit to focus on the Constitution, the referendum, providing hopefully unbiased information to all the constituents about the things that are going on within the EOS ecosystem that you need to know. I keep finding myself doing all the nonprofit work, all the thankless work.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that, man. I don't know anything about that nonprofit work.
You're clearly you're the pioneer of it. You were the first person to make a focus of nonprofit activity in a space while everyone else was in the space was profit seeking.
But it feels good, right? I mean, it feels good to be doing something that matters.
Yeah. No, you take the word profit and you switch the F to a PH. I like that. The motivation. So I'd love to get an update on Unsung. How many meals have you served? How are things accelerating? How do people get involved in that?
Yeah, sure.
You're a restaurant or a grocery store or a catering company. What markets are you in? How can people get involved?
Sure. So we're unsung.org. We stalled a little on growth in terms of my involvement as I scaled up KSOB, scaled up Academy in Kingsland. But this great thing happened, which is that when you build something that's decentralized and you give other people, make them empowered to do this, you can kind of step away and it keeps working without you. There isn't this bottleneck of, cult of personality for there. And I think actually last year, for your wedding gift, I think that we last year we gave the 50,000th meal on our platform, and we made a video of it for Brock for his wedding last year.
I loved it. It was, as we were having a wonderful, wonderful time, it was wonderful to know that homeless people were being fed, and a seminal moment in Unsung's development and honoring us, honoring me. Thank you so much.
About 3 weeks ago, with no direct intervention from myself, just sort of letting it go on its own. With 3 weeks ago, we crossed our 500,000th meal. So we've 10x'd in 1 year in terms of meals fed.
Yeah, from 50,000 to 500,000 in a year. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's great. Super proud of it.
And as you say, when you were busy and not doing much.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the way you scale.
Well, I took that lesson from you, man, as you come in and you get it going in the right direction. And if it's, if the trajectory's right, you can step off and go do other things, and the train keeps moving without you, right?
And that's how you want to build things. Certainly, if you're trying to build decentralized systems, right? You're trying to build distributed systems. Building systems that have incredible dependencies upon you, is a centralization flaw.
Agreed.
Hopefully, my goal as an entrepreneur is to replace myself with someone better as fast as possible. That is always my goal. I'm a starter. I'm a fire starter. I get things going, and then I try to move on and, let others, carry the reins. It's it's like passing a baton in a race.
So it's new in Puerto Rico, man.
We just finished spending a bunch of time down in Ponce. The South is beautiful. It's the second largest city. We're off next now for our fourth event to the East Coast. So we did the North, we did the West. We just completed the South, doing the East, and then we'll be back in the capital again in the spring of next year. Just going through all the things. I mean, the most positive stuff that people don't know. Obviously, it's an enchanting and beautiful island. But there are more bachelor degrees per capita in Puerto Rico than any part of the United States. People forget how educated Puerto Rico is. It also has more artists per capita than any other part of the United States. I mean, you want to talk about talent. We're talking about the most educated artists. I mean, Puerto Rico has incredible potential. The Puerto Rican people have so much potential and can do so much. They've just been without the tools, and now they've been strangled with financial sort of debt and lack of opportunity and just a whole bunch of things.
Horrible natural disasters.
Yeah, and natural disasters clearly don't help either.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when they're as bad as Maria was. But it's a place with extraordinary potential, but it also has real problems, and those problems are also where the opportunities lie. Take, for example, 89% of the food is imported, but it has incredible fertile land. I mean, it has a rainforest.
So why is that? Just there hasn't been a profit incentive to develop it?
It's a historical problem that goes back to when Puerto Rico became part of the United States in 1898, and the first governor moved to New York 1 year after serving and set up a company called Domino Sugar.
Oh, wow.
And Domino Sugar was responsible for ripping up all the farmland throughout all the Caribbean and replacing it with sugarcane to produce sugar during the sugar rush and to be able to...
Yeah, I'm from Florida. We have our own problems with Domino.
Yeah. And so what eventually happens is, the Caribbean in many ways was almost enslaved and turned into sugar farmers. It was like sugar plantations. And what happens is when that becomes the historical... understanding of the agriculture industry, it becomes, in the culture like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that because there's such a negative association with it because of the historical sort of agriculture industry having gone the way that it did. hopefully that's starting to change. There's now some wonderful farm-to-table restaurants. You're starting to see lots of permaculture. You're starting to see organic sort of producing. Actually, during the last Restart Week, the largest organic farmer in the world is based in Mexico, for example, has 15,000 acres of just organic avocado farming.
Wow.
Was over in Puerto Rico talking and helping educate, and he's, coming to help teach Puerto Ricans how to do this. And, so hopefully that 89% of food being imported, becomes something substantially less, and that hopefully it's artisanal, permaculture, organic.
Yeah, we do permaculture
the
stuff.
Land is capable of producing.
We do permaculture in Satoshi Forest, and so I follow a lot of permaculture people on Instagram, things like that. And I've noticed that a lot of the people I follow are actually based in Puerto Rico.
I point out the problem, but therein lies the opportunity. When you hear these types of things, think of them as calls. They're called actions. If you're, someone that is into organic farming, permaculture, whatever it is, healthy living, caring about our environment, and you see that there's this big a problem, but also that big an opportunity, which is the other side of that spectrum, right? That weakness can become a strength. If that message resonates with you, come down to Puerto Rico. Come find your local Puerto Rican partners that you can start growing amazing things. Planting seeds is beautiful.
Healthy people for people in need, man. Healthy food for people in need. That's definitely something that resonates.
There's a lot of these sort of call it macro opportunities, and the Puerto Rican people have all the capability and all the talent necessary to fix these things. They just need some basic stuff. And like in my case, I'm an investor. I'm an angel investor, a venture capitalist many times over. I can start to help Puerto Rican entrepreneurs, Puerto Rican startups, get funding. And once one or two or three companies actually accomplish that, that changes the narrative in that market, where all of a sudden everyone that's in Puerto Rico that wants to build a startup, instead of having to move to San Francisco to pursue that dream, realizes that dream can actually happen there at home. You don't have to leave.
I think there's a huge brain drain from San Francisco. I think people are really tired of being there. It just seems like everybody I know from San Francisco.
I love San Francisco, but
Me too,
I get a little. It's back to the homelessness and things. You have so much wealth there, so much abundance there, so much success there, but somehow it doesn't feel like people are. One dinner party of a handful of San Francisco founders, trying to solve any of these issues that exist there could be solved in one dinner. I just it's like, what's the problem? There's a lot of you have such a small city, it's not that hard to take care of your neighborhood.
Yeah, we did one of our initial tests.
Not rely on the government.
Yeah, we did one of our initial test runs for Unsung in San Francisco. Actually, Jeremy, who was up here earlier, we did it from the Crypto Castle. And we made 200 meals, and we just walked them from the Crypto Castle down into the FIDI and handed the meals out. And it took us, it probably took us 20 blocks to give out 200 meals. And then now I think it would probably take us 6 blocks, or maybe less.
I'm depressed in the fact that both of you didn't bring up a subject matter that required Googling your tax code.
We can go back down the tax.
No.
I just don't find that to be very entertaining.
I'll be honest.
Nor am I qualified to be giving,
Did you guys like the last 25 minutes with these two? If you did, give them a hand. Give me a hand.
Thank
Not
you.
for any other reason, but because of the quality of human beings that they've both been, the way they've lived their life, the way they've walked their path. They've been unbelievable as just human beings. Forget the fact that they've been leaders in the crypto space. The things they're doing for the world around them, the things they're doing for the people around them, the things they're doing to give back are off the charts amazing. So give them a hand for that. Trust me.
Thank you, guys.
At the end of the day, crypto comes
Thanks,
far
Scott. Love you,
second,
man.
third, fourth, fifth in the world we live in. And the things that people do that are good create good karma. And if there's anybody that's ever had an unbelievable level of good karma, it's Jason King and Brock Pierce. And they are just some of the best people I've ever met.